Back in 2004, the critically acclaimed masterpiece Sonic Heroes changed the landscape of gaming forever when it set the record for having the largest cast of playable characters in a platformer game, with an awe-inspiring 12. That's more than the average person can count to on their fingers. The Mario series, always bitterly lagging behind in Sonic's shadow, has only just caught up to this record, having 12 playable characters in their latest entry, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And whilst the Wonder cast is nowhere near as amazing as the Heroes cast, I am happy that Mario fans have the opportunity to play as so many of their favourite characters. But having a huge number of playable characters can be a bit intimidating for players who aren't used to having such a wide range of choices. I mean, usually the only choice you'd have to make is, should I go with the red Italian guy or the green Italian guy? So in order to stop people from having to make up their minds for themselves, I nobly took it upon myself to rank every playable character in Wonder from worst to best. So anyone struggling with that dilemma can just look to this video. In order to determine which characters are the worst and best, we'll be following this strict set of criteria. Criteria number 1, how much I like them. That's it. That's the only criteria. So, let's start this character ranking off with the absolute lamest character you could ever choose to play as in a Mario game. Mario! The problems with Mario are pretty straightforward. He's boring, has no personality, and fails to make an impression. So obviously I can't play as Mario because he reminds me way too much of myself. But seriously, you can play as Mario in literally any Mario game ever. So why play as him here when there are so many other unique options? Like Yellow Toad, or Light Blue Yoshi. Also, even though I think the new voice actor does a great job, I am still bummed out that Charles Martinet doesn't voice Mario anymore. Never again will we hear him in his iconic roles as Mario, or Luigi, or Wario, or Baby Mario, or Isle Defino commercial? I thought he was the voice of Toadsworth too, but apparently he wasn't. Now I feel like I've been gaslit. Never take what you read on a wiki at face value. Anyways, Mario's the worst because he's a generic and boring character. Although, having said that, saying he's the worst is kind of a generic and predictable opinion. Maybe the real free thinkers of our society are the people who actually like Mario. Number 11. Nabbit. I'm following up the most generic character with the most unique character. What a twist! Now, I've got nothing against Nabbit. He is indeed a funny little guy. I think it's cool that a character as weird and as recent as Nabbit got to remain a mainstay. Nabbit's abilities are also pretty cool. One of them is that he doesn't take damage, and there's a lot of value in having an easy mode like that for younger children and novice gamers. This is an ability he actually shares with the Yoshis. But the other ability Nabbit has, which the Yoshis don't, is that he won't flinch from attacks. This makes him the only character to have his own completely unique ability, another point in his favour. The website tried to trick me by implying that turning items into flower coins was another unique ability Nabbit had, but literally every character can do this. The reason I ranked Nabbit so low is that he can't use any regular power-ups himself, which is like half the fun of a Mario game to me. And between him and the Yoshis, they just have a more interesting set of character-specific abilities. Number 10 to 7, Yoshi. Up next we have the Yoshis, who, like Nabbit, also don't take damage. But they also have the typical Yoshi abilities on top of that, those being the flutter jump, swallowing enemies, and letting other players ride on their back. Man, all they had to add was Yoshi's egg throwing, and then this basically would have been a Yoshi's Island game. I'm ranking them low for the same reason as Nabbit, that being that they can't use the more traditional power-ups. But I think the abilities Yoshi has makes for a fun alternate way to play the game. I especially like that if you play multiplayer, you can just make your friend carry you to the end. Normally the multiplayer interactions are just a hindrance, but this one might actually encourage you to work together. Or it will just lead to you using your friend like a pack mule. Either way, sounds like a great time! Also, something notable about the Yoshis and Nabbit is that they can still use the Wonder Flower power-ups, even though they can't use the regular ones. I guess it's because the Wonder Flower abilities are a more integral part of the game, whilst the regular power-ups are mostly optional. Oh, and I should probably rank each Yoshi individually, huh? Well, the green one is the worst one because it's the generic default one, and then the blue one because I think it's funny that it's specifically called Light Blue Yoshi when the other blue Yoshi isn't even in the game. And then red is 8 and yellow is 7 because those are the colours I like more. Number 6. Blue Toad. So initially I was gonna rank Blue Toad much lower, because why would I play as the blue one when there are 2 superior Toads on offer? But then I remembered playing 3D World, and how my brother and I were sad that we couldn't both play as Toad in that game. So now I support Nintendo adding as many Toads as possible, so more people get to experience the joy of playing as Mario's best character. I just wish they added the purple, green and red Toads too. Also, even though this is the Toad I like less, I will admit the blue one makes for the best looking elephant. Number 5. Daisy! It is crazy that after decades of being sentenced to spin-off only hell, Daisy finally gets to be playable in a main series Mario game, and it's the one set in the Flower Kingdom too. How appropriate! I'm also glad they're adding another playable girl to the cast. Now if 4 girls wanted to play the game together, 3 of them would get to play as girls! And the other one could just play as Red Yoshi or something, I don't know. But mostly, I just think it's cool that the Mario series is branching out by having so many secondary characters be playable in the main series. What with Daisy in Wonder, Rosalina in 3D World, and even Wario in 64DS. I wonder which highly demanded spin-off only character will make it into the main series next. Oh, of course. How could I forget? Birdo! Number 4. Luigi. Luigi isn't the most exciting inclusion in the world. Being one half of the titular Mario Bros, he's made it into quite a lot of these games. But there's one thing Luigi has that has always helped him to stand tall above his brother, and that is, he actually has a personality trait. That trait is exaggerated cowardice, but hey, at least it's something. So by playing as Luigi, you're actually doing him a massive service, by helping him gather the courage he needs to go out and face the world. Also, even if I didn't want to play as Luigi, you're like contractually obligated to play as him in the Haunted Mansion levels. Come on. Number 3. Peach. Despite her major role in the Mario franchise, Peach doesn't really get to be playable in the main series that much. Before this it was like 3D World, a mobile game, and Doki Doki Panic. And I refuse to acknowledge Peach yet. So it's great to see her adding Wonder to her repertoire. There's just something so satisfying about using Peach to beat up her former kidnappers, and playing as her here acts as a great teaser for her upcoming starring role in Princess Peach Showtime! I wish it was still called Untitled Peach Game though. Number 2. Toadette. Out of every supporting Mario character, Toadette has had the most impressive rise in prominence over the years. Like, she was only introduced because they needed to fill up a character slot in Double Dash, and now look at her. She got a starring role in her own spin-off game, she got a major role handing out achievements in Odyssey, and now she's been playable in 3 separate Mario platformers for the Switch. Meanwhile, poor Toadsworth can't even get a cameo in the Mario movie. What a loser. I for one support the Toadette uprising, and hope one day she slaughters Mario to take her rightful place as the main character. Number 1. Yellow Toad. Toad is my favourite character, and yellow is one of my favourite colours. No contest. It was a little scary there when NSMBU Deluxe reduced him to a palette swap, but luckily Wonder was able to recognise Yellow Toad as an individual with his own hopes and dreams. Kind of. But mostly, I'm just happy this game is redeeming Yellow Toads everywhere, after that lazy sack of crap from the Toad Brigade has been dragging their names through the dirt for the past 16 years. Oh my god, don't even get me started on the Toad Brigade's Yellow Toad. You know, all the other brigade members are named after their jobs. The toad that delivers letters is named Mail Toad. The one that stores star bits is called Bank Toad. And the one that gives hints is called, I'll give you a hint, it's Hint Toad. It's a little sad that their entire identity is defined by their jobs, but at least they're contributing something to the team. And then there's Yellow Toad. You want to know why Yellow Toad is the only member of the Toad Brigade not named after his job? It's because he doesn't do anything. Oh, I'm sorry. There is one thing he does. He sleeps. For 3 whole games, all this guy does is sleep. His hometown gets invaded and conquered, he sleeps. He's one of the 5 sole survivors who can do anything to save it, he sleeps. One of his own fellow Toad Brigade members gets kidnapped, huh. You better believe he sleeps. Why does one guy need to sleep that much? What? It's because he has prophetic dreams? Great. Can he see a future where he wakes up and contributes something to society? And you might be thinking, sleeping a lot isn't so bad. He's clearly been through a lot. Maybe his life is so strenuous that he needs a lot of rest. Well, what does he do when he's awake? He spins in a freaking circle, because spinning is so useful. The only other time this guy gets off his bum and walks more than 2 steps is when the captain literally forces him to. And even then, all he does is follow Captain Toad around, and it's actually a massive hindrance because if he dies to anything, the whole team dies with him. I can forgive this when it happens to the other Toads because they've contributed something to the team before, but you are nothing but a dead weight. And then we get to Odyssey, where Yellow Toad finally pulls himself together by getting a job at the Crazy Cap. And what does he do? He charges you extortionate prices for costumes. Seriously, 9,999 coins for a Halloween costume? What are you, in charge of pricing Nintendo's games too? No wonder the Yellow Toad from the 2D games reduced himself to a pellet swap. He was probably embarrassed about being associated with this guy. And before you speculate, no, they are not supposed to be the same character. You think this guy could stay awake through an entire new Super Mario Bros. Game? Please. And maybe you're sitting there shaking your head and saying, but I love Yellow Toad. Sleeping all the time is so relatable. And to that, I have to say, if you think sleeping all the time is appropriate behaviour, then I am judging you. That's right, the guy who just went on a minute-long rant about Yellow Toad is judging you. Bet you're not gonna sleep so great now. So, in short, Yellow Toad from Wonder is the GOAT, Yellow Toad from the Toad Brigade deserves to burn in the fiery pits of Bowser's Castle. Anyway, that's my Mario Wonder character ranking. I hope you'll find it a useful resource when deliberating which colour Yoshi you should pick. Join me next time where I'll be ranking each Toad Brigade member from worst to best. You'll never guess who I'm gonna place last! Oh, I just realised they never even mentioned the invisible character blocks. Do you think they actually affect how good a character is? Like, is there a tier list based on which character gets which block? That would be funny.